Agents, how to know exactly when you should start using volume leads versus high intent leads. There's a specific science in this video I'm going to be breaking down and showing you exactly what our agents are doing to hit 40K, leveraging both of those. My name's Trey. I'm the owner of Agent Lead Lab. We've helped over 550 agents in the past 3.5 years issue pay $40,000 per month by leveraging our leads and marketing systems. And on this YouTube channel, my whole goal is to just kind of show you all our thought process and blueprint with how we actually make that happen. And tips and tricks along the way that may be able to help you. So I hope this video is just as insightful. And let's go ahead and hop right into it. All right, perfect. So let me first touch base and explain a few things. So what is the definition of a volume lead? Okay, what's the definition of an intent lead? All right, so the way that I look at it is volume lead is going to have less questions on form. All right, a lesser quote intent based off agent understanding of ad, and then lower CPL, and then typically lower CPA. Okay, so what could be considered a volume lead? All right, so what would be considered volume lead? What would we look at? We call age leads, and then typically we call form leads. Okay, so we'll go to that. Now let's talk about intent leads. All right, so it's going to be more questions on form. All right, higher. Oh, I don't know how that happened. My bad. Higher intent based off agent understanding of ads and process. We're going to explain what that means. Higher CPO. It's going to be sometimes verified, OTP. And then typically higher CPA. Now, not super high, but higher, right? You can typically see like a 1.25x and cost per acquisition, or CAC, however you want to define it. All right. What would be considered intent lead? Here's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at landing page leads, video ads from forms. These can be a little bit higher intent, right? And I'll explain how. And then you're going to have like VSL slash opt-in niched leads. Okay, so we're going to go through this, and then we're going to talk about the goal, right? Because the goal is still the same. If you're an agent, the goal for us is always to make 40K a month, right? And agency to hit 1 mil a month. I have clients who do both of these, meaning they run their whole agency on volume. That's their whole thought process and philosophy. And I have agents who run their whole agency on this. So it's still going to be 40K a month. All right, an agency to 1 mil a month. All right, now I'm going to break down how we can get here through both of these. All right, so just walk with me. So let's start with volume. This is going to be probably the most prominent lead type, the one that a lot of people know about, because when they think about leads, they're like, how can I get the cheapest leads possible and get the biggest ROI? So most people will start with like an age lead, okay, or form leads. So this is going to be what we would consider. Now for age leads, we've gone through this. The way I look at age leads is there's really two different main thought process. You should have like $1. I mean, there's some places that have 50 cents. We've tried 50-cent leads, didn't really like it. All up to like $10. Okay. Form leads, same thing. Your form leads are going to be like $10 to about like $20 typically. You have to understand what you're getting yourself into when you're working a volume-based lead. It's not a matter of you coming in and being like, oh, okay, cool. Well, you know, I'm going to get these leads and I'm just going to absolutely crush it. I'm going to get 25 and I'm going to make a sale. It's like you have the wrong philosophy. I'm going to get 50 and I'm going to make a sale. It's like, maybe. The form leads, if you get 50, you should make a sale to max 3, right? Because here's the thing. The cost to acquire a client doesn't necessarily change, y'all. Like it doesn't matter where you go. You have to understand how numbers work. Like you're not going to just buy $100 worth of leads and make $5,000 every single time. That's not how it works. It always evens out, right? So if you buy $100 worth of leads and they're older and you get 100 leads, it's like, okay, you may get one sale. Just like if you buy a $50 lead and you only get 2 leads, like you're probably not gonna get anything, because it's like, what if the person doesn't pick up, right? If they do, you got a 50-50 shot, right, of closing. And that's how you have to look at leads when you're understanding what leads you're going to kind of go for, rather than just saying like, okay, I want to make a high ROI. If you can understand that going into it, you'll have a much better outcome I currently have a client who we're in the process of always creating new things, always thinking about new innovative ways to help our clients, help our agents, help people that know us. Um, and we're testing out different form leads. Now, my past has been a lot of form leads up until probably a year and a half into the business. We started, testing with landing pages. I kind of learned how to do it. Mindful, if any of you all know my story, like I didn't go to school for this. I didn't watch a bunch of videos. I'm now kind of retiring from football. So I've really been able to go all in and like make subtle nuances that are making a big difference. That's why our business is growing. That's why we're getting more clients. That's why we're having a lot more success that we have, simply because it's the only thing I focus on, excluding my faith, obviously, first and foremost, and then my wife. But rest assured, the reason I'm bringing that up is form leads that are going to be $10 to $20, you still need to have the right perception. So we have a client who's buying them and he's like, well, they're like, these got to be resold. I'm like, no, they're not. The psychology of the people who fill out autofill forms is very similar to age leads. The difference is you need less leads to make the same amount of money. And there's not as much. I filled this out 30 days ago. Right now, you're still going to have people that kick rocks because you have to dial in on your phone script, which is going to be what I'm going to be talking about in terms of like conversion metrics and how to best use those, which I guess I'll put right here, right? Metrics and best practices. So knowing this is very, very important, right? So you have to understand what's considered a volume lead, right? Because if you go in thinking, I'm getting high intent leads for $10, you are fooling yourself. I'm getting high intent leads for $15, you are fooling yourself. I'm getting high intent leads for $20. You are fooling yourself. You're shooting yourself in the foot because you already are behind the 8 ball. Now, if you come in understanding what they are, so you say, hey, I'm actually paying for volume-based leads. These are supposed to be banged up. My expectation is that I'm not going to get a bunch of these and make crazy sales. I don't think my agent should get on these and expect to close 50. Like that is not how these work. These are specifically intended for you to understand I need reps or I need something to supplement for a very cheap price. $10 a lead is like walking in the park. It's like if you're buying high intent leads, then $10 a lead is nothing. It's like literally I'm just going to buy them and I expect to close one, maybe two. That's it. Like you should not even be expecting to close 20 of them. Now, if you work them properly, you probably can, but they don't come with a whole lot of data points. And that's why they're set up the way they are. If you are like, hey, look, I want to buy cheaper leads and just work them that way, then just buy age leads and call it a day. Right. But for most people, they want to still be able to buy some, get their teeth kicked in a little bit and still be able to come out on top. And that's really the basis of what these leads are. Now, let's talk about questions, right? On the form. So when you think about volume, you think about basic demographics. All right. So it's just like basic demo. Okay. And that's literally just going to be typically name, email, phone, typically not even address, state, and then maybe one data point. Okay. And that data point outside of that would be like, what would that data point examples could be like? So wife doing that. Data point examples could be like age, beneficiary. If it's vet, like military branch. And these are typically going to be like multiple choice, right? And the reason why you all have to know that is because if you go into it thinking, like when we get to the higher intent leads here in a second, you'll see the difference in terms of like how you ask questions because it goes into psychology of the people, which is why it costs more and why it costs less because you're paying less because it's like quicker responses rather than you're paying more because people have to do more. But it's not always, it's a trade-off. You have to figure out like what you're optimizing for. If you're optimizing for time, then you go for intent. If you're optimizing for cost, you go for volume. That's how you should think all the time. Don't necessarily think about it's a Facebook ad. Think about the price. The price is relative to the value for the most part if you're working with the right company. Okay. So the data point examples are as such, right? Age, beneficiary, military branch. These are typically the only ones you're going to do. These are like easy multiple choice ones. Some people do like colors, hobbies, stuff like that. I don't love that. It's not really relative, but you can do whatever you want. So you're going to have less questions, lesser intent. Now, this is like, to me, this is the most important thing, right? And the reason why is you have to have a script based off client expectations. What does that mean? Okay, so it's funny. So I have an agency I work with, and they were calling leads, and they're like, "Dude, I'm just struggling." I'm like, "Okay, you're good at selling, but you're struggling with these leads. What leads were you working before?" He was telling me. I was like, "All right." Like, all right, guys, look, here's what we need to do. and this is the reality of like what happens when you work with agencies. Like I think most people want to say, "Hey, we work with a bunch of agents," but if you've never been an agent, you don't know how to sell, and you really don't know how to create proper expectations for the ads or the leads that you're generating for the client, it's like there's no point in you doing it because at the end of the day, you're not really setting people up for success, and honestly, you're kind of screwing people. So like one of the things that I focus on is I want to always give scripts and uh, frames that are based around what clients see because to me, right, my thought process would always be to create the cheapest possible lead and then create scripts and processes around that because that's a lot more scalable than having super high intent leads. Now, once again, I have a wide variety and clients that love each of them, but that's my personal expectation or what I would do because at the end of the day, if I could get my cost per lead for less than $10, I don't care. Like I'd rather have a lower cost to acquire a client, especially with like chargeback stuff like that. Because if I can get 100 leads for $300 or whatever, and I sell five, like I'm like, okay, that's actually really good. It's like 300 divided by five, and then what's my AP? Even if it's like $700, you just do the math. It's input output, and you can scale that, and you get more agents, and that's a duplicatable system. Versus if you're paying 20, 25, 30, 40, $50 a lead, it's not. So that's why I like form leads personally. Like if I was scaling an agency, I would probably focus right here and just teach people how to sell them because it's based off your expectations. So if I call a client and they've seen an ad and the ad says, state regulated final expense, it's not even that like I was thinking too, like state regulated isn't really even a bad thing. It's that if the agent calls and doesn't know how to sell it, then they're screwed. So like I would create a system around the state regulated approach. You know what I mean? Because if you do that, then you know what the client saw. So you're already ready for objections. The problem with leads and people's expectations, especially these leads, like let's just talk about volume. It's the same thing in intent too, because don't get it twisted. You will mess up some intent leads if you don't know what to say. If you call the people and for example, the ad says, so I just write this down, right? So ad says state regulated. Okay. But then the client says life insurance programs. And the ad just says state regulated burial plans. If you guys just look at that alone, what does that cause? You guys have heard me if you're on this channel. It's called friction. It causes friction because the client now has the wrong expectation about what they filled out. The ad said state regulated burial plans. You said client life insurance programs, right? You can do the same thing for vets, right? Ad says veteran benefits. Client says uh, uh, life insurance for vets. Are they the same thing? Yes. Don't get upset though that it's not the ad's fault that you don't have the right expectation. It's the person giving you the leads or the ad that doesn't explain what's on the ad. They setting the proper expectation because you can still get to the end result of closing somebody from either one of these. Now, if the thing says free, that's completely different. Most people aren't trying to put that on their ad. That's just dumb. Like that's dumb. But as a marketer, I know both sides. You're trying to get the lowest cost per lead. I get it. Whether you want to help the client out and make the cost super low, or whether you want to just profit high, I guess your prerogative. But I see why you're doing it. The problem is the client has the wrong expectations. So it's like if you're an agent, you need to know that. And if you don't own the process, or if the people who are working with you can't explain how to sell it, then they don't know. They're just trying to get a lower cost per lead, and then you should run the opposite direction. If the people you work with don't have scripts that tie into the ads, you should run the opposite direction. The scripts aren't meant to be robust and make you like a robot. They're meant to just align the first message, the first line to align with the goal, and then to frame the rest of the call. So if you're running a state regulated burial plan, that's fine. That's totally like there's no problem with that as long as they know that's what's on the ad, so they know what to say. So it's like, okay, these are state regulated final expense programs. This is kind of how the process works. I work with the state. I'm a licensed underwriter. Grab your pen and paper, right? Okay, so the state has now approved that you guys actually are available for low costing programs. I'm gonna actually go through and explain exactly what that looks like. If you say that, you will get the sale. But if you say, hey, Susie, you were looking online for life insurance programs or life insurance quotes, right? I mean, people don't even say programs. People be saying life insurance quotes. They're like, dude, this is so left field. I saw state regulated burial plans, and you're saying life insurance quotes. People don't always associate burial plans with life insurance. So if you don't align people properly, you are screwing yourself. Just like if you say veteran benefits and you say life insurance for life insurance with living benefits or something. Like, how you switch it up even more? Because like if you say one thing off, yes, veteran benefits are essentially life insurance, is life insurance with living benefits, and state regulated burial plans is a life insurance product. But if the client doesn't know what they're seeing on the front end, there's no way you're going to get to the second part, right? This is the most important thing. Like if you take nothing away from this video, if you just do this alone as an agent, or you work with people that can help you, or you figure out like how to do it yourself, or you work with us or whoever, like you have to understand the client and the process, or else you're just going to screw yourself. There's nothing inherently wrong with any lead. There's never anything wrong with a lead. It's always the client expectation, right? And your expectation as an agent. If they align, you can come to a mutual agreement. Now, they may not have money. That's a targeting thing, or maybe that's a demographic. Typically, that's a demographic thing, or who you're going after. It's like me saying, oh, I want to partner with life insurance agents, and then I get a bunch of leads and I'm like, these guys suck. It's like, no, bro, there's just way more life insurance agents than are agency owners. There are way more people that can pay you, $100 for final expense leads or age leads. They can pay you $500 for fresh leads. They can pay you $10,000 to, create a system or something, right? Like, so, but if I had the wrong expectation, I start running ads. I'm like, this sucks. It's not working. Ads don't work. It's like, that's how agents think. And that's so false. That's like, you're literally shooting yourself in the foot. You're losing out on tons of money, and you're hurting yourself. Okay. Enough on that. I can have a whole entire breakdown on like intent and client expectations. And if anybody wants to see that, please drop a comment below. I'd love to go in more deep. This is like my favorite thing to do, because this is what took me from doing, 15, 20K myself on my own pen to 40 and 50K a month as an agent, right? Lower cost per lead, that's pretty relative, right? If you have these things on it, obviously you'll get more people to click. Which, if you're marketing, like, you still wouldn't get the lowest cost per lead. You just need to learn how to sell it on the back end. That's all. Like, that's marketing 101. We just think that, like, oh, it's supposed to be this easy layup. No, you're supposed to create a system around the ad. If you went to another marketing company, they'd be like, okay, we're going to get the lead cost as low as possible. Here's what we're going to put on the ads. Here's what you need to say in your script. You need to frame it around that. Simple, right? So then you have a lower cost per lead, which means typically if your closing persistency and your KPI stay the same, your cost per acquisition. So CPA is just cost per acquisition, or cost to acquire a client. Just basically means, and I broke down videos on this, if I give you 100 leads and you close 2 of them, right, and it costs you $350, then your cost to acquire a client is $175. That's really simple, right? So that's how you kind of need to look at it. So we went through that, and then you can get to a goal still doing that. Because if you do this with your leads and you don't have as much friction, so for every 50% of the calls, you get through the quote with just one more person per person. And let's say normally you get 100 leads and you only get 10 presentations. If now you go from 10 presentations to 15, then literally that could be a difference in 1 or 2 policies, which over the course of a month could be the difference in eight policies, which could be the difference in easily 10 to 15K, just from one subtle adjustment, right? Now, let's dive into intent leads, okay? So what would be considered a high intent lead or an intent lead? All right, so you have landing page. For those of you who don't know, there's forms on Google, YouTube. Everybody has forms, TikTok, and then you have a dedicated landing page, meaning they click and they land on a page. Keep it super simple. These are better because if the person lands on a page and they opt in, there's really no autofill component. You can add a lot more parameters, different questions, but it's pretty difficult to like optimize. You need a pixel. And a lot of people kind of struggle with setting that stuff up. But even more than that, it's not even necessarily that part. It's the fact of like growing and establishing. It just takes time, right? Like we love landing page, but I also have both, right? The second one is going to be video ads with forms. So you go back to this volume, okay? And then you're going to have a video ad form. Now, landing page leads, in my opinion, they can range, man. I've had some landing page leads that are $10. This isn't what you're going to be buying them for. So let me actually give you the actual price. You're probably going to pay like $25 to about $80 per lead. I've seen some people charge $70, $80 for like certain leads, depending on how good they are and all the questions that you can ask, right? Video ad forms is typically going to be like $15 to about $30. That's what you're going to see, give or take. And then VSL opt-in niches is like, that's not even like no a la carte cart pricing. You have to like build a system, because in this you're like, well, let me not say that. For the VSL opt-in, that's what you have to do. But if you're going to do like niche leads, you typically could see anywhere between, like, niche leads typically go for like 20 to $50. And by niche, I mean things that are outside of like the traditional mortgage final expense IUL. Like we're talking about veteran IULs, trucking leads, nursing, lawyer leads. Like there's all these different type of niche leads. Tons of companies have them. I don't love them, not because they're bad. I think if you're going to do that, you might as well create your own system. It just makes more sense, a lot more profitable because you can get these niche lead costs down to sub $10 without sacrificing this because there's less people doing it, right? And the way that you have to look at the intent leads versus the volume leads is what you're paying for is more friction. That's what you're paying for, right? So it's more questions on the form. So with this, for example, you're gonna get like the basic demographics, which we already went through. So we got name, email, phone, state, age, but you're gonna get plus you're gonna have extras, right? So extras to me, or they look like, loan balance. My bad. Sorry. One multiple choice question, and then plus extra. So you got like loan balance, investment amount. You've got, dude. I mean, there's so many things. I've had people do lender. I've had people do. Why are you looking for coverage? Like super open ended. So I won't go into like too much longer, but basically you're gonna have your own questions that you're gonna create, and those questions will be very like tailored for whatever the lead type is. And then from there, you're also going to typically have, right? So you also can have like an OTP, right? Which will go down. That's going to be the highest, but that's like the thing that makes it a little bit higher intent. And the reason why the OTP makes it higher intent is because it reinforces that like something is getting sent to you. You're not about to click to the next page and like there's this, like this isn't the end. And I think people think that OTP is like supposed to be this thing that like it makes the lead better because it just signifies to the person like, okay, you're not about to BS me. I need a real number, and this is not the end. Now, you can say, hey, we could text you the details, that, there's stuff like that, but that's psychologically what it does. It just tells people this is not the end. There's another step after this because I need your phone number to do something, send you something. Like it's not like, oh, that's why people stop because they're like, hold on. So somebody might contact me. I might get another message. I just want to stay on the page. I don't want to be talked to in any sort of way, shape, or form. I don't want people to have my number. There's all these different things that people can do. If there's not, then they can just put in whatever number and then just click in. So this is the thing that is super important. I had to get in contact with the team. So yes, so the higher intent lead based off the understanding of the ads and the process. So I say process here and not up here because with the form or the age lead, it's like they filled out a form that typically auto-filled, you're good. Like they're gonna probably yell at you a little bit. Like you just have to go into it with the right frame. With these, if you go into this thinking that just because it's higher intent or it's OTP that you don't have to work, you're gonna get slapped in the face. But if you go in understanding the process of how to work the lead, and that you should still approach it with the same tenacity, you should not be lazy, but you don't have to be over like, okay, I got to really go crazy to kind of get these people. Like if you treat it like that, money, right? And I don't have to go too much into it without basically letting you know that you need to still know the process of what the client's seeing. Like everything that's up here still applies. Because even if I give you a higher intent lead, but these things still stay the same, you're screwed. So like I'm not going to go into it for sake of time because I just went through it. But if this is still the case for any lead type, it could be annuity even. It could be down to you have an annuity where it's like you're talking about, hey, get an annuity plan, and the ad says annuity refinance. Or you're like, hey, how to reposition your money for retirement is what the ad says, and then you're talking about an annuity that's better than the 401k. They're like, what? Like, okay, yeah, maybe I may have a. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't have perfect alignment with the ad, I just keep coming back to me. Like, if you're an agent, you're watching this, and I come out and I call you and I'm like, dude, you wanted to build an agency? You're like, no, I just want leads. Or if you're an agency owner who wants to build an internal system and I call you, I'm like, hey, bro, you just want high intent leads? They're like, no. It's like, okay, well, What? And they're like, well, I am an agent, and I do want leads, but I was looking for the lead system. And you're gonna confuse people. And we're not dealing with younger demographics, y'all. Like, understand we're not marketing to ourselves or people like us. We're marketing to people who are online filling out tons of forms. So if you know that, then you need to be super deliberate with what you say. If you're not, you're just gonna shoot yourself in the foot, right? I already went through the higher cost per lead. The cost to acquire a client or the CAC is typically 1.2x what is volume, right? Is what we've seen. So, for example, if you're working age leads and you spend $100 and you get 100 leads, and then you close one of them, then the cost to acquire clients is $100, right? If you want to do a fresh lead, then it's probably like 125, 150, and that's like 1.25x average. Because then if you're buying fresh leads, you may get them and close a batch and XYZ. That's typically what it looks like. Across the board. That's just like what our data shown us the last 3.5 years. So I hope this makes sense, y'all. You can still get to a goal. You can still get to 40K a month or build an agency off of the high intent leads. The difference is that if you do the high intent leads, you are not changing the behavior of the demographic. You are just changing what you need to do for your agents to make sure that it makes sense. So that way they're on the same page. You are changing how you and your agency should attack leads. That's it. So when you change that, you will allow yourself to grow based off of your goals. Neither one is necessarily right. It's which do you prefer? I want to scale my team to have lower cost to acquire a client and have them focus more on their sales skills. Go to the volume. Way cheaper leads can create expectations, can create scripts. There's tons of agencies. You all know some of them. I won't name drop, but some of the most prominent ones right now in FFL, for example, that's what they're doing. They're not doing anything special, y'all. It's not special. They've created a system based off of volume. They figured out their cost to acquire a client is low. They found a specific demographic that they like working. They started scaling it because it worked. They keep it super simple. They don't do anything but that. And they just got really good at it, and they understand their script and their expectations. That's it, bro. That's literally it. Because of that, they can scale. They don't worry about anything else. And then it just happens. And it works because they've come up with that. And then there's other groups that all they do is this. And then they teach and train on how to sell based off of their process. The goal, and going back to the same thing, nothing changes. The only thing that's different, just OD moment there. The only thing that is different is that one of these lead types requires, well, actually, they honestly require both the same amount of attention. I'm sorry. The only thing that's the same, I apologize, between these, outside of all the things that I just explained that are different, is that you have to create a process. Like if you don't dial in and start creating your own process, the own way that you work leads. Now, I'm a firm believer in if you're trying to grow and scale something, that you create a system, right? You hire people to help you build a system. If you look at all the successful, and it's like people think it's new. It's not new. It's like, how do you run a business? You don't run a business by buying leads. You run a business by creating an infrastructure and by hiring people. They create leads that your clients may buy. It may be different because in the life insurance space, in other companies, they pay for the leads. There's the marketing efforts, and then you have sales teams that sell them. Like when you're doing high ticket sales, you don't charge your sales reps for that. They make less. So it's like there's a million different ways to skin a cat. You bring your people in, you say, hey, you're going to make this. I'm going to cover everything. You're going to hop on calls. We're good. You can do that. Like, okay, cool. High ticket. If you want to create a high ticket sales system that's duplicatable for your agents, but for the life insurance space, you just do that. You put them at 50% comp. They close deals. You know what I mean? It'd be like them closing high ticket deals. Because think about it, right? Like this is, and I may record a video actually on this. Like I may just make a little note, but think about it, right? So in high ticket space, here's what happens. Okay. So somebody gets on a call for an offer, and that offer can be anywhere between like 5 to 30K. Okay. And then the sales rep gets 10%. All right. So 10% would be $500 to 3K. Okay. That's what typically happens. So in life insurance space, we get on calls, but we'll typically get paid 2 to like 5K. But guess what? We get the whole thing depending on commission percent, right? So if you wanted to build a business, there's a few ways you could do it. And I'm probably gonna make another video on this, right? Essentially, you could do high ticket style, which would basically just be you are paying for their leads. They are at lower comp. People call that the LOA model, right? You can do traditional. So that's they buy, they close, right? Higher comp. And then you can do hybrid, which would essentially be they are at 50% comp. Because LOA is typically going to be lower. Like I've seen some people run it at like 30, 20, where they pay for everything. So they have 50% comp. You cover lead costs. But here's the thing. You have to own the leads to do this. You can't do these models. You can buy other people. This model, you can create your own system. But if you don't own the leads, you can't do this hybrid model. You put people at 50% comp, theoretically, you're going to get the same thing they'd pay in high ticket. People like, your perception of money is only your perception of money based off where you're at. When you hired the person, they didn't think making 40K in a month was possible. It's when they got in and they were like, oh, you're making 40K. It's like, dude, bro, how much money are you bringing home? Like, that's what matters. Because here's the thing. If you do this model, right, if they're at 50% comp, you cover the lead cost, you're essentially getting them the high ticket space to tell them, right, high ticket space to tell them for every deal you close, you're going to be making like $500. That's like cool. Like people would be fine if I told you you're gonna make $1,000 a day, and you work 5 days. It's 5K. 5 times 4 is $20,000. That's a great job. All you got to do to make somebody $500 a day is do what? That's pretty simple. If you have them sell 2 policies a day and you cover their leads, they should be fine. If your cost per lead is $5, $10 because you have your own system, you book up a bunch of appointments, you fill their calendar with 6 or 7 appointments a day, they should close too. It's not inherently difficult. It's that if you don't have the right process or vehicle to create it, then you can't create a system for it, right? So I may record a video just breaking this down. If anybody wants to see this, just let me know. But there's so many ways that you can build I've seen them all, right? Like the one that everybody wants to do is this because like it makes a lot of money, but it's really difficult. Like you got to have dogs. Typically you want to have people in person because you got to have a lot of control. The hybrid model is good, but if you're paying for their leads, it becomes tricky. But once again, in every other business, nobody that does sales pays for their leads. It's only in the life insurance space because we give them such a high comp. But if you can manipulate that process, create your own leads, and then create a system around it, it's scalable. But the thing I've seen a lot of people do, this one, if you do this right and you create a system, you will make a lot of money. The problem is people just don't have the time and discipline to actually sit down and create this, or they're not willing to pay people to come in and do this. But if you do this right, this will make you a lot of money. A lot of money. Because nobody knows how to do this. The people that do, they crush it. And there's only a few. Most people try to do it, but they're not willing to put the time in. They don't have the discipline. They don't want to do the content. They don't want to do all the things that it takes to create it. So regardless of what you do, though, it always comes down to these 2 things. Volume, right? Or intent. That's it. Volume or intent. Volume or intent. You just got to make the decision. Do I want to do volume or want to do intent? And there's no middle ground. You're on one of these. You are on this one. It's either volume or intent. And if you're working with somebody you don't know, you need to ask, am I on volume? Am I on intent? And if you don't know one of these 2, then you're shooting yourself in the foot because now you're going in like, oh, I mean, maybe I'm expecting it. You need to know, like, I'm paying for premium, so I want premium like expectations of the clients. I still got to close them. Or I'm paying for volume. Okay, cool. I'm going to get kicked in the face. If you approach it that way, you'll be all good to go. So hope this video helps. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Our goal is to help you make 40K and to potentially, if you go to your agency, for you to partner up with us, we'll come in, we'll help build all of your systems. We'll give you all the breakdown of like how to scale, what to do, what to say, how to work the leads properly, what we've seen that works. We'd love to kind of partner up with you, help your agency grow, build out your AI backend, calling, SMS, workflows, etc. If you do those things, or if you think you might be eligible, if you're making over 150K as an agency, we would love for you to apply, potentially work with us. Go to our website, it's agentleadlab.com. You'll see a book a call button. Just click that. You'll fill out that information. If you do qualify, someone from the team will hop on a call with you. Otherwise, that's fine. You don't have to do anything. We do have a lead company if you want to buy leads. If not, that's cool too. Just keep watching the content. The purpose here is to help you make money. And eventually, if you want to work with us, you can come work with us. So, hope this video was insightful and helpful. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.